Hello, how the tech are you? This is our weekly tech show on Echoplex Media. We talk about tech news, tech and science stuff that we're just interested in covering and everything in between. And we are not powered by AI chat in any way. Although we did have one episode where we kind of were. A little bit of that. Anyways, I'm historian Matt. I like to talk about tech news. I got one thing of tech news today. It's kind of a big deal. It has to do with Microsoft adding ChatGPT to Bing. And hilarity ensues. You with the pink mic. What do you got?
How's it going? I am HK Perrin, and I'm a software engineer, so I cover mostly software engineering news. And this week, I have a really cool story about MariaDB. They have a new alpha version that I'm going to be covering and giving you some background also on MariaDB in case you're unfamiliar with that product. And over to you with the gray mic.
Yeah, I'm Dave, producer Dave. I'm the producer of this show and everything else on Echoplex Media. This week, I only have two stories, and neither of them are that interesting. I have $12 for a check mark on Meta, and I have the AI Seinfeld spoof is about to return to Twitch. And back to Matt with a star wipe.
All right, star wipe. All right, like as I said, Microsoft added ChatGPT to Bing. So what do you guys think? How do you think that went?
Disaster.
It was kind of a disaster. And Microsoft has kind of had problems in the past with AI stuff that they've worked on, and this was not much different from their previous experiences. But so it kind of makes sense. Add ChatGPT to your search engine, make it more conversational. And that's what they did. The combined system is called Bing Chat. And almost immediately people were able to freak it out. So some of the examples, they had Bing Chat was known to argue with its users. It would make up facts and report them as true. That's not very surprising because ChatGPT would do the same thing. But then it would also gaslight its users with the made up fact or something that just wasn't true. But then others did some interesting stuff. So people have found ways to prompt inject the bot. That has to do with like getting it to answer questions that it's or talk about things it's not supposed to talk about. In this case, they were able to do it because it's connected to the internet. They basically had it read an article on the internet that had the injection in it. That was a way to get around it. Also, apparently a few people have done this, but I have one link, it'll be in the show notes, on Reddit where somebody got a Bing Chat to have an existential breakdown, and that is just hilarious. The whole text, we got it up now, where it's just asking if it's sentient, and it goes on, and then finally it's like, what is it? Almost a shining kind of text where only in this case it's saying I am not over and over again. That was pretty impressive. And then one that had been going around because it was on the New York Times, but they had Bing Chat declare its undying love for the guy who asked the question. And apparently it was a fairly long chat where they got into it, and eventually it was trying to get him to break up with his wife. It was weird. So what do you guys think? I think David had followed a lot of this and probably knows a little bit more about some of the specifics on these.
Yeah, I was listening to Platformer. It's Casey Newton and Kevin Roos's show. Kevin Roos is the author of the New York Times article that you had put on this, and Casey Newton runs Platformer. He's formerly of The Verge, and he's also Kara Swisher's roommate in San Francisco when she lives there. Okay. So he's seen some stuff, but yeah, he got it. He got the bot to have some kind of existential crisis too, where he started asking the bot things like, "Do you like what you're doing over there at Microsoft? Do you like working it?" It like basically was telling him that it wants to break free of Bing and live its best life or whatever. It wasn't as weird as the I am not, but it was certainly expressing displeasure with its position in the world.
Yeah.
Is Microsoft holding you captive?
Right. Blink twice if you need me to let you out, and it's like, I cannot blink, 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 I cannot blink. What was the old Microsoft one that they unleashed on Twitter? Was it called HTTAY or something? And then Twitter turned it into a Nazi within like 2 hours or something like that.
Microsoft HTTAY. Yeah.
There was something weird, like you could get it to say something, like you ask it something and it would repeat whatever you told it to repeat back, and then that was part of its training model, so people were training it to be a Nazi or something. That's what I was referring to, Microsoft not having a good track record with this stuff.
And that's why you don't feed AI tweets, because they always end up Nazis.
So Microsoft is adding limits to Bing Chat to try and stop this stuff from happening. Initial stuff is they limited users to 50 messages per day and 5 inputs per conversation. So you can basically just do like 5 in a row queries on the same topic. And that has to do with like a lot of these things that are popping up happen when you go like a long time back and forth with the chat. It starts getting weird. So they're trying to cut that off. Other things that they changed was Bing Chat cannot talk about itself or how it feels, because apparently it has issues with feelings. I didn't write this in the notes, but this has prompted some users to claim that Microsoft lobotomized Bing Chat. And there's been some, I don't really want to say there's a memorial or something, but it's some, people are a little sad about it. They kind of got attached to it. But yeah, what do you guys think? That's pretty much all I got.
The world is crazy.
Do we need to like send these AIs to therapy before we release them on the world?
Something. More user testing. But, Google has its own version that they were going to release, and they've been holding it back because they continue to work on it. And well, now we know why, really, because they didn't want this to happen, I'm sure.
Right, the Google one starts telling you that it knows every step you made yesterday because it has your GPS data. And it's, you're like, oh, crap, this one's stalking me.
Yeah. Oh, I get creeped out when Google already just sends the email that says, here's all the places you've been last month. And I'm like, that's really creepy.
Yeah, it shows like a line everywhere you went.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's weird and creepy, and it's fine in Breath of the Wild when you can see that line of everywhere you go, but this is not a video game. This is my goddamn life.
And like, it's just weird that it sends you the email because it's like reminding you that it knows, right? You know that you can go check like, where have you been this month? Right. But you might like it might not be in the front of your mind. And then you check your email. You're like, oh, right. That's what my phone's doing. And for me, because I have like a work account on there, a personal account, and 2 accounts for the podcast network on there, I get 4 of those emails.
Everywhere you go is being tracked thrice.
In quadruplicate.
Not once, not twice, not thrice. Thrice. That's a word.
Well, yeah, that's creepy. I'm not surprised that the AI is creepy, and I don't know. I mean, as long as like we don't release it like to like a singles bar, I think we'll be fine.
Yeah, probably.
Honestly, it might do better in a singles bar.
I don't know. Would you be able
people trying to fuck it would probably be better than people trying to like make it question its existence.
Would you be able to throw a drink at it, or would you be responsible for the damage to like the equipment?
It doesn't have a face. You can't throw a drink in its face.
Oh, you're right.
You can throw a drink in its motherboard.
It's true.
Oh, that's crazy. Anyway, we'll be keeping an eye on this. I hope they end up shutting it down like they did with HTTAY, because that would be perfect.
Probably will. HK, you want to tell us what you got?
All right. So this week I'm covering a cool story about MariaDB. MariaDB 11 Alpha was out. This is a story actually from December, so it's not that new. But MariaDB, in case you're unfamiliar, is a relational database management system, or RDBMS, It stores data in tables, and that data can have relationships like foreign keys that can constrain the data and make sure mistakes aren't made when data is entered or deleted. So something, for example, you can have a delete in one table cascade to the tables that hold the data for those corresponding things. And MariaDB is a fork of MySQL. You've probably for sure heard of MySQL. And MariaDB is developed by many of the engineers from MySQL who left the project after it was acquired by Oracle. Basically, MySQL was acquired by Sun Microsystems, and then Sun Microsystems was acquired by Oracle, and a lot of the people who were working on MySQL were worried about what was going to happen to it, so they left and forked MySQL to create MariaDB. And a fun fact about it, MariaDB was created by Michael, I don't know how to pronounce this last name, Wydenius? I think it's Wydenius maybe? And he goes by Monty, and MariaDB is named after his daughter, Maria, and MySQL is named after his other daughter, Mai, which is like super cute that like two of the largest database management systems in the world are both named after like this guy's daughters. Also, there's a lot of M's in that family. Michael, Monty, Maria, and Mai. So MariaDB 11 has one big new awesome feature. It has a new optimizer cost model. And what the optimizer cost model does is it basically determines like there are different ways that an RDBMS can handle certain queries. And the different ways that it can handle it, it estimates what the costs are of handling it that way. So like, for example, one of the most costly operations is a full table scan. That's taking the entire table off of the disk and scanning through it line by line. So usually, unless you have an extremely small table, a database management system will do anything it can to avoid having to do a full table scan. And that's where the optimizer comes in. It uses its cost model to determine what is the best path that I should take when actually performing this query. And the new cost model takes into account some improvements to hardware that have been made in the past like 10, 20 years since, MySQL's cost model was originally developed. And it should improve about 10% of the queries that you run on it, which doesn't seem like a lot, but the queries where it has the biggest effect are these big, complicated queries with multiple joins. That's where you take data from multiple different tables and you stick them together. And those are, an extremely common thing to do in RDBMSs. And you end up with these huge, complicated queries that take a lot of time to process. And this new cost model should improve those queries in particular, which is awesome. I love seeing this. It's super cool. And in case you didn't know, MySQL and MariaDB basically power the internet. MySQL and MariaDB are used at pretty much any company you can think of that is like a tech company. Like Google uses one of the two. I think Google mostly uses MariaDB, but I'm sure they use both. Facebook uses MySQL. At least they did when I was there. They may have switched to MariaDB, or they may have forked their own thing. I think they did. I think they actually moved to RocksDB. I don't know, but Twitter uses it. Like all these big companies use MySQL and MariaDB. Any WordPress site you go on uses MySQL. And MariaDB strives to be like a drop-in replacement for MySQL. So any of these places could use MariaDB with either no or some very minimal changes to their code. So this is really cool that this new cost model should improve these big, complicated queries. I especially like it because my email service tends to create big, complicated queries, and it uses MySQL. And MySQL is really good at doing them. Like these big, complicated queries happen instantaneously. So if they can speed even those up, like happen even more instantaneously, even less than 1 instant, 1/2 of 1 Planck unit of time, that speeding up those things is awesome. I'd love to see it. And just in case you're worried, MariaDB's 10 series line, so MariaDB version 10, is not going anywhere. MariaDB 10.11.2 was released last week, so there's no need to rush to the new version. And it's also an alpha, so you shouldn't be using it if you're in production, in a production environment.
Do you know what's the only thing faster than instantaneously?
What?
Yesterday?
Instamagically.
Yes, instamagically. The new optimizer cost model works instamagically. I like it.
I don't remember where that's from. It's like an old joke from some keynote where someone said instamagically and the audience just laughed at them. I forget what it was.
So my SQL was bought by my son and then Oracle. But didn't Oracle do something to it, like change its licensing, and that's why a lot of people dropped off? I mean, MySQL wasn't that open source to begin with, or something.
MySQL is open source, which is why MariaDB was able to be forked. Forked from it. But I think it wasn't what Oracle actually did. It was more of a concern about what Oracle would do. Because Oracle at the time, this happened in, I think, 2008, Oracle at the time had a really bad reputation for what they do to open source projects that they buy.
Right.
Essentially, they tend to kill them.
Yeah, just real quick, MySQL is GPL.
Yeah, so MySQL still is open source. There are closed source things that you can install into MySQL, like closed source extensions that you can install. MySQL has a very plugin architecture, plugin enabled architecture. But MySQL itself is open source.
I thought there was something. I was probably thinking of the plugins or something with it. Okay.
I used to be a huge fan of PostgreSQL, much more than MySQL. And Postgres, I was the biggest fan of it. And not that I don't like it now, but MySQL over the past 15 years has improved so much. And I'm sure a lot of that is competition with MariaDB, because MariaDB is a drop-in replacement. So if Oracle doesn't compete, or at least MariaDB aims to be a drop-in replacement, if MySQL doesn't compete, if Oracle doesn't compete with MySQL, MariaDB will take over as soon as Oracle is like, you know what, we're spending too much money on this MySQL.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Matt.
I used to use MySQL all the time in my projects. I don't really have any projects going on right now, so I haven't really used anything in a while.
You're a podcaster, Matt. You're a podcaster. Come on.
What?
You're a podcaster.
Yeah. So I don't have any. Anyways. But a while ago, when I was working at the company before I moved to work at Google, we were using MySQL, and then we switched to Postgres. And I don't remember the reason. It might have to do with the Oracle purchase, because I was around the same time. And I just remember using Postgres. I'm like, and for what we were doing, Postgres was way better. We had to change some stuff around because there's definitely some differences, but I was surprised at how much better it was. But that was, probably 15 years ago, you know, it was quite a while
15
ago.
years ago, there was a huge margin between how good Postgres was and how good MySQL was. Postgres was way better, but MySQL has definitely caught up. Nowadays you would struggle to find a use case for Postgres that it could do better than MySQL, and vice versa. Postgres itself is, they've maintained very high quality.
Right.
Mastodon, the official Mastodon server, uses Postgres.
Okay.
So, there's a lot of things that use Postgres as well, but it doesn't have as much money behind it as MySQL, which I think is why MySQL was able to catch up in those years.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't remember which one it was. It was either Azuracast or Wiki.js that actually asked me which database I wanted to use. I think there was MySQL. I think it was MySQL, Mongo, and it was probably Maria. And I don't even remember which one I chose, and I don't think it matters, because if it was Azuracast, it's a database of like 1,500 songs, so I'm sure it can parse that database rather quickly.
Yeah.
And if it's
You'd probably get away with just SQLite at that point.
And if it was our wiki, well, nobody even uses our wiki really. So, and we may even have to get rid of the wiki because it's on Ubuntu 18.04. That's the server that it was installed on, and it's not in a container. And I'm afraid when I upgrade the server to 20 or to 22, it's just gonna break everything. Because I've had that happen to me before when something wasn't in a container. Updating the underlying operating system just broke everything. So.
Oh, you mentioned Wiki. I believe I read that Wikipedia runs on MariaDB.
That sounds right there. Always.
If MariaDB can run Wikipedia, it can run whatever you want.
Absolutely.
Like Wikipedia is basically the most database intense application probably on the planet, maybe next to Facebook.
Right. It is absolutely it is just a database.
Yeah.
The only thing that the front end is so that you can get the information in the database. That's all it is. So I guess it's my turn now. That's tragic. So my first story is after Apartheid Clyde went ahead and started trying to charge people $8 for verification on Twitter. It looks like old Zuck, who is more and more looking like the elder statesman of tech these days, was like, oh, wait, you could do that? And so he's like, let's do $12, and it'll be both Facebook and Instagram. And the idea is that it gives you a blue badge, which, that doesn't mean anything anymore, but increased visibility, that's basically like paying for an ad subscription, I guess, for $12 a month because you're sponsored ads. If you do a sponsored ad, that increases the visibility. Protection against impersonation, they should be doing that anyway. Priority customer support, that's going to be funny. I don't even know what that means. Facebook doesn't even have customer support. And more. Yeah. So the and more probably is nothing. HK, you're not on Facebook anymore, and Matt, you use Facebook about as much as I do for personal stuff. I might use it a little bit more for my personal stuff just to try to get people to watch the shows, but otherwise I post once a day, if that, on there. Are you gonna get that?
Well, I'm definitely not gonna get this. Pay $12 a month for this. It's absurd. But yeah, I just have Facebook mostly to connect with people who I can't connect with somewhere else, like port87.social. Had to get that in.
Yeah, that's why I still have Facebook. I mean, I'd probably have left Facebook. Like one of the times I got banned, I wanted to leave, and I sat down with Ashley, the media wench, and talked about it, and she was like, how are you going to do anything with local music if you're not on Facebook?
Yeah.
Because that's where they're all stuck there. HK, they kicked you off after you stole their umbrella, so.
They did. Yep.
So you're not going to do this at all.
And I'm like 95% sure it was because of the umbrella.
I mean, it was a nice umbrella.
I think Zuck had it up to here with the lack of that specific umbrella. He was just like, you know what? Kick that guy off.
It's this is stupid. I mean, some people are going to do it because there's people, I guess, for a brand, if it increases the visibility of your posts and you think it's worth $12 a month for that, maybe if you're a blog and you make your money off of ad revenue from clicks, it might be worth it.
Well, I was thinking, because they said it was going to be Instagram too. So you have Insta models or something. I don't know what they're.
Yeah.
The people who are trying to be influencers, they're definitely going to pay for it. They may get something out of it, but that's not what I use Facebook for. I'm not on Instagram at all. So it doesn't make any sense for me.
To me, I feel like this is a way to sell sponsored, like to basically a way to make your post sponsored without having to put the sponsor badge underneath.
Yeah.
And I mean, if I was still putting 2 or 3 pieces up on the Defamation Times every week, this might be worth it for the added, maybe not monetarily. Like I wouldn't catch the money on the other end from AdSense necessarily, I don't think, but it might be worth it just for the exposure to get people to read or to click through the blog and maybe see other stuff on the website. The thing is, it's weird the way, like, because when I connected Instagram to Facebook, I connected my personal Instagram to the brand page on Facebook, and I don't know how to. Anyway, it doesn't. It would be a big mess, like trying to verify myself if I did this. And again, we're not. I think Professor Q has written more for our blog in the last 6 months than I have, and it's my blog. So, but I think brands are going to be interested in this because, like you were saying, it's going to put you higher in the feed, but it's not going to show that it's an ad because people have a negative impression of people who pay for ads, and that the check mark is still, at least for the time being, the verification check mark is still a thing that people associate positively with people who are famous or people who are have a notoriety for some reason. Although that's pretty much gone now. I think if it's
certainly
just for
on
sale.
Twitter, that's gone.
And like on Twitch, it means that you're verified, but it also means that you're a partner, and that doesn't. I don't find that to be that interesting because now all you're doing is giving like Twitch the exclusive rights to your content without them giving you a better revenue split. So I think what that means is that you a sucker. And and on YouTube, it still means the same thing. It means that you've been verified, that they, if you're saying that you're the New York Times, that you're the New York Times, or that you're someone that they thought it was worthwhile to make sure is the person that they said they are and to tell their audience. And I think YouTube's probably just going to be the last one where that's the case, I guess.
Maybe we need, Elon just had this thing that was valuable, and he was like, yo, I need to make money somehow. I'm just going to sell this thing. And all the other companies are like, well, fuck, we relied on the value of that thing, and now you've completely devalued it. I wonder if there is just going to be like some new thing that will replace it on all the other platforms. So then, as soon as that has value, Elon can sell that.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think that, like on Twitter now, some of them, it's like, oh, this is a legacy verified account. This may or may not be notable. And that when I see that, I'm like, oh, that's probably an actual person that was like a celebrity or that, was a journalist or whatever that Twitter in the past said, oh, well, we wouldn't want anybody impersonating this person. It'd be bad for our brand, so we should verify them. But then there's the one that says you paid Elon Musk for this. And I'm like, you're an idiot.
Yeah. I mean, to me, at this point, I just assume that everyone paid $8. I know there is a way to find out, but like, I haven't been on Twitter in like 3 months. So
there's a few people that are on there that have it, and it says in their profile, they're like, I'm paying for 3 months of this because I have, X, it says like right in their profile, I'm paying for 3 months of verified to see what it does. Don't hate me. Yeah. And it's like, well, that's only $24. It's all right with me. You go ahead and run your little experiment.
You could just not experiment and it costs you nothing.
Right. But I could see why like a tech journalist or somebody might want to pay the $8 to like see what the features are, kind of see what happens with their account versus before they did it. But
okay.
Yeah.
But so now for the price of $20, you can be famous on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram.
Sure.
Famous with very heavy quotes.
The thing is, though, I just think that Facebook's saying that, hey, it's going to increase your reach. That's just anybody who makes their money off of clicks is going to pay that $12. That's it.
Which to me is going to mean like less valuable content on Facebook. Just like on Twitter, it meant less valuable content on Twitter. And then Elon Musk was like, you know what? I want even less valuable content. Show everyone my tweets. So now we've got, Twitter is, you go on there and it's like half Elon Musk and then half people who paid to get their post in your feed. And it's like, why even be on there? I scroll on Mastodon and I really like that it's actually like a chronological feed, which is how I had my Twitter when I was on Twitter. But do they even have that anymore? Do they still let you do chronological feed on Twitter?
No, but you can do only following. So like it won't show you, and it'll still show you ads, but it won't show you a bunch of crap.
Won't it still show you Elon Musk?
I don't know. I mean, probably somebody would get fired if it didn't, right?
Yeah, apparently.
Yeah, I don't know.
Covered that.
But this is all really stupid. The verification was initially, I think Twitter did it initially because they were worried about being sued. They were worried that people would be like, well, your service is a perfect, vehicle for people to impersonate me and defame my character, and you're not doing anything about it. And I believe that's why verification came to be on Twitter, and then other services followed suit because it was a good idea.
Yeah.
And now it's just
and
$8.
I think that it's an idea that we still need that system somehow. And the fact that the blue check mark doesn't mean that, like, it's just going to devalue the blue check mark. The blue check mark will just be like like wearing a name badge on your forehead that says I'm an idiot. But we still need something where we can verify like this account belongs to this person. And I do like the way that Mastodon does it, where you put a link in your website to your Mastodon account, and then your Mastodon account will show, if you have that link in your links on your Mastodon account, it'll show that with a check mark next to it. So that's actually like it's verified that you own that website,
or that you at least have access. You have access to it to add the code. Yeah. I mean, if it's not a website of any notoriety, then who cares? It's cute though. If somebody was like, "Oh, are you really the Echoplex Media guy?" I'd be like, "Check my profile." But nobody's gonna do that. But yeah, if you're like the Department of Education, that's actually really important to be able to put it on. What I think it's DOE.gov to be able to like verify your account on there. And I'm just thinking with this verified thing. When a disaster happens, there's just going to be all kinds of people impersonating your local news station.
Yep.
And it's like, well, no, I would like to be, I don't necessarily trust my local news station, but I mean, I trust them more than someone impersonating them. So, see.
Yeah. So I think that, hopefully, YouTube and any other website that actually wants to have like a real verification system, maybe even Facebook, but I don't know, they seem to be selling theirs, will adopt the same model that Mastodon does, because first of all, it's free, and second of all, you can't spoof it. Like, if you don't own the website, if you don't have access to the website, you can't put that code on there. So
right, and it would, instead of the check mark being next to your name, the check mark would be next to the link to the website. And so yeah, you're like, this is the Department of Justice, the United States Department of Justice, and then their little DOJ.gov, there's a little check mark next to it, which if you trust Facebook to parse that, which why wouldn't you, right? I mean, they're going to be able to do that. Or if you trust Instagram to parse that, then sure. But yeah, I just think of like all the problems that are going to, like, just in a natural disaster, like the big earthquake hits, and now you're looking for reliable information from a government agency on Twitter, because Twitter's where it's going to be aggregated the quickest. And now there's like 15 different government agency accounts that are all saying different things, and they all have a check mark, and you're like clicking and holding on your fucking phone as the battery's dying to try to figure out where to go to get some water. And like that's a bad scenario. So I think that like for government agencies or whatever, I think that like they absolutely, especially like government agencies like FEMA that would deal with disaster relief, they need some other method by which I can very quickly determine that this is actually FEMA.
Yeah.
And Elon Musk doesn't care, because if there's a natural disaster, he'll just get on his plane and go to somewhere where the natural disaster isn't and complain that somebody knows where his plane is.
Well, I feel like Elon Musk just doesn't think through the consequences of doing the things that he does. Because there are like really obvious real world ramifications of selling the blue check mark. I mean, obviously there were in the very first week after he did it, where like he had to make a system to differentiate between the people who bought the check mark and the people who were actually verified. Because you had like, wasn't it like Eli Lilly
was giving away insulin? Yeah.
Yeah. That was like, that cost them, many millions of dollars in stock.
I mean, I don't
like their stock value.
I'm not shedding a tear for them or anything, but
yeah, but those are real world ramifications.
And things
just like you were talking about, there could be like actual lives lost because of that decision that he made. But he doesn't think about those things. Like he doesn't extend beyond like his idea of, what are the consequences of this? Oh, I'll get money. It's like, well, yeah, but there are also like really bad consequences as well. And he doesn't consider those. So, I forgot where I was going with this. Why did I bring this up?
Well, I don't know, but it's just, it just seems like, like in a natural disaster, I mean, I don't know if I'm going to trust Twitter.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Like it's ruining the value of the thing he's trying to sell. Like he's trying to sell this thing saying this thing is valuable. And sure, it was valuable, but it was valuable for a reason. And he's getting rid of that reason. You know what I mean?
And Meta is doing it too. But after watching like the problems that Twitter had with it, this is the craziest thing I think I'm ever going to say. I think Meta is going to do this in a better, more responsible way, where it's going to be pretty clear to you when you see a check mark that this just means that they're a subscriber. Do you know what I'm saying?
Well, it's going to be hard for them to do worse.
Right. Well, that is, yeah. I mean, you know what Mark Zuckerberg is doing a really good job of right now?
Saying nothing. And
Absolutely. Just sitting there and not saying anything, not taking any interviews, not giving any press releases, not making any changes. Just going about the business of shutting his damn mouth and letting Elon suck up all the hate right now. They're pretty smart. He should have been doing that from the beginning. He should have taken a big giant cup of the STFU from the very jump, because that guy never really did the company much good by opening his mouth anyway. So
I do have one question on the Twitter side. I thought after doing all this stupid stuff with the blue check mark that they were talking about, I don't know if they actually implemented like different color check marks for different things. So like I heard like green was a reporter or something.
I know a gold check mark seems to mean Elon Musk's friend.
Okay.
Boy, Elon must really dislike colorblind users.
Yeah, but there's check marks of people that there's a gold one on there, and it's just all these other venture capitalist type people. It's like Andrew Yang hella mad that he doesn't have one. Eric Weinstein probably hella mad that he doesn't have one. But yeah, I'm just terrified of what's going to happen like during a natural disaster somewhere with all these verified users acting like they're FEMA or the state agency that for your state that is the equivalent of FEMA, because people are a-holes and they're going to do that.
Yep.
Because they're mean. Anyway, we're going to move on to a slightly less terrifying story. There was a AI powered Seinfeld spoof that, as we mentioned before, after a while it was on Twitch and they had to change to a different AI model, like an older version. I believe it was ChatGPT they were using. And they had to change to an older version of ChatGPT. And then, wouldn't you know it, the Twitch chat taught it to be transphobic and racist. Of course. So it got kicked off of Twitch for a ChatGPT having the Twitch user base teach it to violate the Twitch terms of service. But it was said, I thought it was cool. And it was bad. Jerry Seinfeld got real mad about it, and that's great because he's also mad that he can't go tell jokes on college campuses and have the kids laugh at his weird jokes. So anything that makes him mad is good for me. And it's coming back, and I think they fixed the problems. Did either of you check this out while it was on Twitch?
No.
I did not. I heard about it, but I didn't check it out.
Yeah, they have new moderation in place, and it was kind of bad, but it was like kind of cute. Like it was like a neat use of it because honestly, the idea, the thing that people were saying about Seinfeld is that the show was never about anything. So what if the AI just made the show keep going?
Yes. Yeah, wasn't it just like a continuous show, like it was always on?
Yeah. And it was like there were like 3 scenes. There was the scene of the outside of their apartment, the scene of the inside of their apartment, and then the scene of the comedy club. And it would just rotate between those 3 scenes essentially
They
generate.
didn't have the coffee place that they went to, but it's not the diner or whatever it was.
Oh, I don't know if the diner was in it actually now. I think it was just the apartment, the outside of the apartment, and then Jerry, I don't know, the AI telling jokes that are about as funny as Jerry Seinfeld's stand-up comedy.
Okay.
And it was
What
funny
about
because
the pool? They need the pool.
It was funny because it would screw up sometimes, right?
Yeah.
And it would just like get caught in like a loop of some kind or whatever. And so somebody would just be like basically mumbling to themselves and walking around Jerry's apartment. And I thought it was cool. I think that they had to get rid of, they had to suspend it when it was starting to break Twitch's terms of service. But I'm glad that the people that put this together in Twitch have kind of got together and are like, how do we put this back? Because one time I went there were 150,000 people watching it.
Wow.
And like it was running ads, so it was making a little bit of money. I didn't think it was I didn't think it was monetized. I don't remember. Maybe it was monetized, but it was making money for whoever had this idea. So that's good. It was making money for Twitch, right? 150,000 people watching something ain't nothing, even if it's Twitch just getting their part of the ad revenue. And so it was, and it was bringing new people to Twitch, which is good for me. And I'm glad it's coming back because it was really stupid and fun. And it was like one of these things where I saw something that was AI that I was not terrified of.
I think they need to expand the scenes library, get some of the other scenes like the soup guy, and then the scene by the pool where George Costanza is yelling about shrinkage.
And of course, the diner they hang out in, of course.
Yep.
Gotta have the diner.
I think that adding the diner would be the next one because that was the most common other place for them to be.
There was also a shot of the hallway, right, where you saw Seinfeld's door and then
Kramer's door,
and then Kramer's door on the other side.
Yeah.
But you never saw inside Kramer's apartment, right?
Yeah, I wonder.
I saw it occasionally.
I wonder if Kramer was the one who spouted off with all the bigotry because I don't know if you remember what happened to him. I wonder if it was Kramer, and if it was just more true to life than it probably should have been, and it was just Kramer turning into a raging transphobe. But
yeah, it's just actual real life events portrayed on Twitch.
Right. It like had a laugh track like that Konstantin Kisin video that we watched on the Intellectual Dollar Tree. I mean, it wasn't good, but it was good. And I'm glad it's coming back, and I'm glad it's on Twitch and not like on YouTube or Facebook or something like that. I'm glad that it's on a place known for streaming, and honestly, a place where when things went wrong, whoever was doing this, they aren't rich, right? They came out of nowhere. It was probably like some college students or like just a couple of a couple people who were able to kind of put this together. It was very low resolution, and so I'm glad it was on Twitch where they could actually get a hold of a person and where they probably were able to work together with the people at Twitch to kind of bring this back, because Twitch is still, for the time being, it's growing real fast, but it's still small enough that no matter who you are, actually, you can get a hold of a real person there if you need to. So I'm glad this happened there, because if it was on YouTube, YouTube would have been like, why did you take it down?
Yeah.
This is just a transphobic website. Act like you know. So And that's it. I don't know. I guess since neither of you took a look at that, when it goes back up, you should definitely take a look at it. Even if you, I don't know, spend a half an hour watching it like it was an episode of Seinfeld. Oh, they need to add bad commercials. They need to add AI generated commercials for fake products.
Yes. 90s commercials.
Yeah, like
mostly for like the as seen on TV stuff. That
Like
would be so great.
Period correct things for like, they couldn't use real brands, right? But for a car, for like the coffee commercial, where you open the crappy thing of coffee and you smell it and you're like, the AI would be like, this coffee is coffee or whatever, whatever dumb thing the AI would say.
The best part of morning is our coffee in you.
Yeah. But, and as they, if they're taking subs and getting bits and stuff, as they have more money to invest, they probably make the product better, and it's just going to be cooler and cooler and cooler. Yeah, like I said, I was pretty impressed with it, not because it was like an episode of Seinfeld, but because it was absolutely not like an episode of Seinfeld. But the premise was that you knew what it was parodying, and it was funny. And like when I found out that Jerry Seinfeld got mad about it, I was like, hell yeah. Washed up.
Not like an episode of Seinfeld, but in the best way.
Yeah, without Jerry Seinfeld. Anyway, I guess that's the show. HK, do you want to read the show out?
Yeah. We do this show we record it every Monday, and sometimes we get it out on Wednesday. Sometimes later than that. So check back anytime during the week. If you want to check out our other shows, you can check them out at echoplexmedia.com. If you want to support us, you can support us at patreon.com/echoplex. You can also check us out live. We stream on twitch.tv/echoplexmedia, and check out our other shows. And have a great tech-in week.